touch base on this wastewater fisheries in the East Kolkata wetlands. And this site, I think, it's itself very fascinating, because if you see this map, this green boundary, it is the boundary for the city of Kolkata. So the wards comprising the Kolkata Municipal Corporation, and this red boundary, it is so these are the wetlands. So these are designated as East Kolkata wetlands, comprising 254 sewage fed fisheries, which are also known as bheris in the local Bengali dialect. And if you see this particular map, so these wetlands that I'm talking about, these are here. So this map is very significant, because it help us to kind of situate East Kolkata wetlands within the shared geomorphological basin. So within the larger context of the deltaic estuarine Sundarbans region. So what is very important for us is also this map to an extent kind of enable us to understand that East Kolkata wetlands is also an outcome of the natural ecology, but also natural ecology being tamed and manipulated by series of hydraulic interventions, which were crafted by the colonizers, the British colonizers, who were engaged in this laudable project of colonial urbanization in the city of Kolkata. So again, I think that this East Kolkata wetlands, East Kolkata wetlands is a major example. It's a very good example to kind of demonstrate urban metabolism or sustainable flows between a core city and its wider ecological infrastructures or ecological settings in the form of wetlands, boglands, marshes, farmlands, pastures, etc. So we can see here how the Kolkata city and the peri-urban, the East Kolkata wetlands peri-urban interface, they are extremely, they are mutually interconnected to each other. So, for example, the backbone of SSF, the small scale fisheries in East Kolkata wetlands, is the wastewater, and this wastewater is supplied to these wetlands from the city of Kolkata. So Kolkata till date, I mean the population of Kolkata is like more than 15 million, and that also as per the census 2011. So our latest census will come out next year. But Kolkata it's an extremely populous city, and till date it has no separate sewage treatment plant. So every day it generates like 750 million liters of waste, which is recycled in this East Kolkata wetlands through local nature-based wise use of recovery practices. So this is a very good example, and it's a win-win situation, because like this East Kolkata wetlands recycles 750 million liters of waste per day and generates 22 tons of fish per day. So this is this table. I mean, you can see the names of some fish species or fish varieties which are produced in this East Kolkata wetlands. Now, the major vulnerability or the major challenge that these wetlands are facing in the contemporary times, it again needs to be historically and economically contextualized within the larger processes of planetary urbanization. So what is happening is that the consumer cities, the consumption cities, these are expanding their contours. Kolkata is not an exception, by swallowing and gobbling up, the wetlands and farmlands, etc. So the same fate has been thrust upon the East Kolkata wetlands in the last like at least 5 decades. Wetlands are getting converted into real estate, and the corporate lobbies, they are very much involved in this scene in alliance with the state. So this is the major vulnerabilities that this East Kolkata wetlands is making way to land, to concrete land. So in my book, very quickly, I would like to talk about this particular methodology which I formulated and I found quite useful for understanding, the nitty-gritties of small-scale fisheries in EKW. So what I did was that I kind of converged the two urban environmental social sciences framework. So urban environmental history on one hand and urban political ecology on the other. So while history provided temporal scales, a long-term temporal scale to political ecology enabled me to kind of explore in detail the mediations across various social actors, across multiple stakeholders who are involved in the story of supply, distribution, and recycling of wastewater in these East Kolkata wetlands. So and so what I did was that I kind of complemented archive or archival research with ethnography. And I think that UP is important. Why? Because like if you see the mainstream or conventional projections, if you read the contemporary media reports, media mention that the two major challenges in this East Kolkata wetlands is one, which I already discussed, that how these wetlands are falling prey to real estate speculation, and on the other hand, the media also talks about the recent crisis relating to the distribution of wastewater in these wetlands, and the media project that this is being deliberately done by the bureaucrats, so by the people who are who work for the irrigation and waterways department, because irrigation and waterways department is responsible for channelizing wastewater in these wetlands. So now very quickly I would discuss that why HUPE or historical urban political ecology is an important framework to help us kind of counter these so-called linear mainstream projections by going deep into the ground realities and complementing these ground realities with records, reports, gazetteers, correspondence, etc., that are actually available in different archives. So this is again a map. It is a colonial map. It's a technical map, and it speaks very well, about this intersection between city nature technology and, like for example, the colonizers. They used this particular river called the Vidyadhari River as the outfall channel for Kolkata. But when this river died, so it's a kind of a saline river because it was connected to the Bay of Bengal. So like when this river declined and it was officially declared dead in 1928, so it was replaced by another distributary of the Ganga, so which is this Kulti Gang or the Kulti Law. So and this is very important in the ecological history of the city itself. Why? Because it brought a change, a major transformation in the ecological regime, of this particular space, because it led to the formation of the East Kolkata wetlands. So what happened is that, so there's a big chunk of history, so far as this Kolkata's canal system and wetlands are concerned, and it's an integrated system altogether. So I don't have much time to discuss this, but what I would like to discuss is that when this Kulti outfall scheme was implemented in 1939, then, these East Kolkata wetlands here, almost like 20,000 hectares of land, where the locals, they started drawing wastewater from the main canal. So you can see the main canal, the dry with the flow channel, which actually carries the wastewater and finally disposes it in the Kulti River. So, but in between, what happens is that the local fishers, they have excavated small inlet canals. And so they take the wastewater from the dry weather flow channel and through these small inlet canals, and then these canals kind of carry the water to the waste stabilization ponds, and in these waste stabilization ponds, the local fishers, they actually through various stages, like for example pond preparation, primary fertilization, fish stocking, secondary fertilization, fish harvesting. So through all these, stages, wastewater is recycled and piscicultural activities is pursued. So it's a fascinating win-win system. So where the city does not require any cost for this sewage treatment. On the other hand, it generates 22 tons of fish per day. On the other hand, it provides a livelihood to like almost 1.5 lakh people. Now, what is happening is that—
Excuse me, Professor Jane, I have a minute to wrap up.
All right. So, so what I would finally like to, shed light upon is the very fact that, when I started talking to various people, like for example, the municipal officials and engineers, the people based at the Irrigation and Waterways Department, KMC people, etc. So I could find out that, that the media projection about this conflict between the developmentalist vision of the state and the, local conservationist aspirations of the local fishers actually don't hold ground. Why? Because, so I mapped different stakeholders and actors who are involved in this story, and I also kind of I could map, not only conflicts but also collaborations, also overlapping interests among various stakeholders who play a major part in the in wastewater supply, distribution, and management. And I talked about, that Kulti scheme of 1939, and people argue that East Kolkata wetlands is actually locally owned, locally managed. All right, and the state is trying to kind of snuff out fisheries for its own capitalist, corporate, neoliberal agendas. But that's not absolutely right, because these people, they meet time and again. There are a number of good things which are going on. So for example, there's this KEIP project, so Kolkata Environment Improvement Project, and under this ADB funded project, the inlet canals are being desilted. Number of other activities are taking place in collaboration with these various social actors. So there are definitely points of conflict. The vulnerability is there, but a lot of good things are also happening. So I think UP is a perspective, so when we kind of complement history with political ecology and ethnography, I think we are able to draw a robust matrix which enable us to look into both the challenges and opportunities that are prevalent in wastewater or sewage-fed fisheries in the wetlands. So this is the final slide. So I think, HUP is an important methodology which enables us to understand the exchange flows across various sectors, actors, and networks. And I think it's very important to channelize these exchange flows by crafting a common language of conversation, not only to ensure sustainable flows between the city and its larger ecological settings, but also, to kind of ensure viability of small-scale fisheries in East Kolkata wetlands, because the protection of East Kolkata wetlands through the collaboration and through co-design and co-management of this particular space, which is being done historically. I think it can be an important or opportune method to find out key variables that can actually ensure viability of SSF in Ikeda.